Just like all other forms of media, video games can really convey an emotion out of viewers. From battling down brute enemies for revenge to fun whimsical adventures suitable for all ages, there are all sorts of great video game titles available to play for any occasion. However, if you're looking for a real tearjerker that will make your eyes water or pull on your heartstrings, then you've come to the right list. Within this list, we're going to showcase some of the saddest video game titles to have released into the market. With that said, there are probably a number of video games you're already thinking about. It would be easy to go back and select a few of the older video game titles that made us teary-eyed for one reason or another, such as Red Dead Redemption. However, we're going to look at some of the newer video game titles that left us heartbroken. In this list, we're going to showcase some of the saddest video game titles we've played in recent years. From character motives to the overall narrative journey, these are some video games that are best played with tissues nearby. Without further ado, here are our picks for the saddest video game titles of the last few years. Likewise, we want to know what video game title, in general, made you cry the most? Number 10. Life is Strange made our list a few times, and for good reason. The narrative journey is one that quite compelling and keeps players' interest. The latest installment, at the time of writing this, is Life is Strange 2, which follows the same gameplay mechanics and setup as the previous installments. The game is focused around player choice and consequences, though with this particular installment, it's possible to unlock several different endings. In this installment to the franchise, players take on the role of Sean Diaz, a 16-year-old teen that is focusing on what life will hold for him after high school. However, much like any family dynamic, Sean isn't always fond of his little brother, Daniel, that tended to get in his way. After a tragic accident results in their father being shot by a panicked police officer, Daniel unknowingly triggers his power that was hidden inside, leaving the cop dead. Fearing the law and what could come from this situation, the brothers flee across the country to Mexico. It's a long and tough journey, filled with highs and lows. This difficult journey can also bring the brothers closer together or drive them further apart depending on your actions. As mentioned, there are a few endings that players can pick up, and they are all pretty depressing, and honestly, it's difficult to pick just one. We're not going to spoil the ending, of course, but all we can say is good luck on the choices you select during your campaign. Number 9. Firewatch was the first game to be developed under the studio Campo Santo. This is a walking simulator type video game, with the emphasis of the title being based around the narrative that unfolded as you continued to progress. Set in the year 1989, players take the role of Henry, a man that's starting his new job as being a fire lookout. It's an isolated job as you watch a national forest to ensure that there are no fires that start up, though you do have the ability to talk with a nearby fire lookout, a woman named Delilah, through the use of a walkie-talkie. It's through these conversations that we learn more about Henry and his decision to take on a job that essentially takes him away from contact and interaction with people. The game is all about the story, and as you progress you really start to uncover some saddening aspects behind Henry's reason for taking the job. However, not only is it a sad backstory, but you learn more about what happened to the last person that took the position before Henry. Not to mention that the alternate ending can be a real emotional pain to endure. Number 8. To all the siblings out there, brothers. A Tale of Two Sons makes for a tear-jerking video game that puts players into a horrible narrative right from the start. This is an adventure game that will take you just a couple hours to complete, and it's rather easy to navigate through. Within the game, players are following two brothers who must go on a grand adventure through several hostilities in order to bring back special water. The water is believed to heal their dying father, though the journey itself will prove to be difficult to overcome for these siblings. Again, because of its length, it's hard to really showcase too much information without spoiling the narrative. With that said, this is a beautiful title with puzzle-filled gameplay and boss fights. Number 7. Life is Strange is one of those games that at first glance doesn't seem to be something that would have such a deep narrative, but when you give it a try, you'll have a terrible time when it comes to setting the controller down. There are so many elements to the narrative and journey Don't Not Entertainment takes you that it's easily a great title recommendation for those that want a deeper story or to those that might not be extremely skilled when it comes to gaming. Within the game, players take the role of a young adult named Max who is in her senior year of high school after she was accepted into a prestigious academy featuring a desirable photography course. This school actually takes Max back to her hometown of Arcadia Bay, Oregon, and it's with her return that she stumbles upon her past best friend, Chloe. Years have passed since Max left with her parents and their friendship slowly chipped away into nothing more than acquaintances. However, one day Max discovers she has a supernatural ability to reverse time, and through it, she is able to rekindle her friendship with Chloe. But with all that said, there is something deeper that resides in Arcadia Bay, and this game definitely doesn't hold back. You'll learn of deep dark secrets the town has kept hidden along with morally tough and emotional choices that will alter the narrative. This is an episodic video game, and with the entire season available, we highly recommend playing the game. Gameplay is aimed more towards puzzle solving and exploring, which makes it easy for anyone to pick up and play. We won't dare spoil the narrative ending, but it's certainly one ending that is still debated between fans of the game to this day. Number 6. Life is Strange. Before the Storm is actually done by a different developer. Instead of Don't Not Entertainment taking the reign during the production of this game, Deck 9 stepped up to plate and gave fans of the first installment some more substance to chew through. Within this game, you'll be taking on the role of Chloe Price, the best friend of Max from Life is Strange. Again, to avoid spoiling too much of either game, especially since Life is Strange is also included in this list, this game takes place shortly after Max moves away from Arcadia Bay. Chloe is left in a mess, something that we were very familiar with throughout Life is Strange. However, with this installment, we got a real glimpse into what kind of trouble and issues Chloe Price had got herself into. Nothing seemed to have gone Chloe's way until she finally bumped into a new friend that could take over Max's place. This is a story that revolves around Chloe Price and Rachel Amber, the girl that was announced missing at the very beginning of Life is Strange. As it stands, this is another emotional rollercoaster of a video game, though if you pick the game up after playing through Life is Strange, then this definitely gives new meaning behind Chloe's relationships and her life in general. Number 5. Naughty Dog really knows how to make a great video game and has been turning them out for Sony a number of years now. However, one of the more recent IP release, The Last of Us, was resounded for its gameplay and narrative journey. At its core, The Last of Us was a game that follows the world after a zombie-like plague. Most of humanity was struggling to survive, with various fungus-type hosts have attached themselves to a human body, essentially reanimating them. While technically they are not zombies, it's tough to classify them to anything else. Overall, the game follows Joel, who has his world completely shattered early into the game. However, after a small time jump, it seems that Joel is making by in the world that is full of nothing but chaos, corruption, and uncertainty. That soon gets shaken up when Joel winds up having to protect some little girl named Ellie as they make their way across the country on foot. As you can imagine, this is a slow journey that takes Joel and Ellie a long time to complete, but it's during this time that the two begin to bond despite how bleak the world has become. This is a game you'll be gripping your controller and sitting on the edge of your seat all the way through. After the amount of time you spend playing this game, it'll be hard not to get attached to the various characters and the twist that comes towards the end of this narrative. Number 4. What Remains of Edith. Finch is another great adventure game that is perfect for gamers who may not be the most skilled. Instead of worrying about gunning down enemies or maneuvering through a complex level, this is an adventure title that will slowly unfold its narrative, one of which tells the tale of an unlucky family. The Finches are notorious for having very few family roots, as for generations a curse has plagued the family from having all but one child survive and live to keep the family name alive. All other children seem to die an untimely and most unusual death. Likewise, they all seem to be attached in some way, shape or form to the Finch family home. Within this game, players take on an unnamed role as you embark into the mystery behind the Finch family home, where you'll be able to roam around the house and slowly unlock rooms. These rooms will eventually take you into the past, where you'll take control of a past Finch child. Gameplay often changes and adapts to the character and the storyline being told. You'll find it tough not to get pulled into the family history, and best of all, this is a very short game. After just about 2 to 3 hours, the game's main story can be completed if you simply wish to enjoy the game for its narrative journey rather than completing it fully. Number 3. Telltale Games takes real precious care when it comes to their video game releases. Oftentimes they will handle other IPs such as Batman and Game of Thrones, though they add their own unique twist to it. This usually results in an adventure narrative that relies heavily on player choices in order to alter the story and the characters within it. The Walking Dead takes place in the popular comic and AMC TV series universe, where you may even see a familiar face. However, predominantly, the game is centered around unique characters within the Walking Dead universe. This first season follows Lee Everett, a man that is on his way to prison until the zombie apocalypse actually ends up freeing him from the law enforcement. Now free in a chaotic world, Lee stumbles upon a young child by the name of Clementine who is all alone. Quickly, Lee takes on the role of Clementine's guardian and protects her from the harsh new realities of the world. Overall, this is a deep interactive drama that spans across a few episodic seasons. We highly suggest playing the first season and make your way through the heart-wrenching story. Number 2. Blackwood Crossing is the debut title for Paper 7, which puts players into the shoes of a young woman named Scarlet. Throughout the game, Scarlet is taking care of Finn, her younger brother, though as the game progresses, more and more oddities such as the surroundings begin to change. Ultimately, this takes players to solve a variety of puzzles as they explore moments of Scarlett's past. Much like What Remains of Edith Finch, this is yet another shorter adventure title that would be perfect for gamers who like to sit back and enjoy the narrative. Likewise, as you progress the narrative, it becomes clear of what is going on around Scarlett and Finn. Number 1. You know, there's a lot of reasons to be sad over this video game title. I mean, a lot of reasons. It's a franchise that we're all familiar with thanks to the success from its origins as a comic book to the current-day television craze. However, despite having a few less than desirable video game titles, one particular series stood on its own, and that came from Telltale Games. The development team was well known for delivering video game narrative-focused adventure titles from already established mediums like The Walking Dead. In fact, this was a series that gamers have been following for years, as the first installment released back in 2012. Now, after several installments, we finally got the last closing story for our protagonist we've watched grow up in a zombie apocalypse these past few years. Telltale Games announced that this installment would be the closing story for Clementine, but as the game got closer to launch, there were a few bumps for the development studio. This 4-part game only managed to release 2 of its 4 parts, leaving gamers clueless as to if the game would actually have an ending. Telltale Games ran into trouble and was forced to close down, leaving the game in limbo. Thankfully, Skybound, the company owned by Robert Kirkman who created The Walking Dead, stepped in and secured the developers, who decided to stay despite dealing with the pressures from their previous Telltale Games employment. This end result was the closing chapter to a long-running video game franchise and a potential end to seeing something similar to Telltale Games coming out in the market.